So obviously the brothers and their buddy take the money, otherwise you wouldn't have a movie. And they form this simple plan that you know under the conditions that Hank hangs onto the money, and they wait for 6 months. If the authorities don't look for it, or there's no stories in the paper, they don't get any heat on them within the next 6 months, they split the money and go their separate ways. They leave the state, leave the country probably, right? And that seems so simple, right? That's what you would do. You're like, all right, we're gonna hand them money, lay low, see what happens. That quickly falls apart. I'm not gonna get into every plot point. I'm gonna try to wrap this up in under 40 minutes. But you know, right away, right away as they're leaving, um, the sheriff rolls up on them, and they cover up the bed of their truck, like throw a blanket over the gym bag, and they get away with that. But they just now they got that hanging over their heads that he saw them on that day. And dumbass Jacob, like, it's like, oh, what were you doing in the woods? He's like, oh, we heard a plane. So now, if the police ever discover a plane, they're gonna know that Hank, Jacob, and their redneck buddy saw this plane that day. They mentioned a plane flying over. They thought they heard a plane with the engine sputtering. So they got that. It's like already before they even get out of there, they got something that could come back and bite them in the ass. And so Hank freaks out on Jacob, saying, why did you say that you heard a plane, you idiot? They're gonna connect the dots if they ever find anything. I'm like right away. I think Hank threatens to burn the money, but everything seems cool. Sorry, I'm eating. Everything seems cool. They agree. They also agree not to tell their wives. But as soon as Hank gets home, he dumps the money out on their dining room table, the 4 million in cash on the table. After asking his wife, what would you do if you found a bunch of money in the woods? What would she's like, I would report to authorities, right? This is Bridget Fonda. Very interesting in this. I remember hearing Mancow talking about this movie on the radio. I don't know if anyone knows who Mancow is outside of Chicago. I'm sure he was in a couple markets back in the 90s. This radio host Mancow was interviewing Bill Paxton on the radio or something. They're talking about it, and Mancow was convinced that Bridget Fonda was the evil character, the most evil character in the story. They're all touches of evil. But he thought that she was the most evil character in the story because she was the one. It's kind of like in I forgot which Shakespeare story that is. I'm not gonna dwell on it. The one with Iago. Someone will someone will correct me. Bridget Fonda is like whispering, like she goes from I would turn this money into the police to when he dumps it on the table to and they're in that bed that night after the money, and she starts like basically whispering to him what he has to do. She switches like that. So I could see where Mancow was coming from, saying that she was like an evil character. She was the major evil driving force in it. But I think the major evil driving force in it is the situation. Yeah, maybe you could say money is evil, but it's money in that situation is a perfect recipe for something evil to happen. For normal people to do evil things. And so they're in bed that night. I think she tells him, "You have to go back to the woods and put some of the money back." He's like, "Woman, are you crazy?" And she makes it an interesting case. It's not totally brilliant because it ends up fucking them. She's like, "Well, if the police ever do find that plane, and they know that you guys saw it, if there's like $500,000 cash in there, they're not going to suspect you of anything. They would be like, if they stumbled upon the plane, they wouldn't have left the $500,000 in cash there." So the next morning, Hank rounds up his brother and his brother's elky buddy, and they go back out to the woods to the spot. Put the money back. I'm going to stop eating, I swear. I'm sorry. They put the money back. On their way out, though, or no, two of them are putting the money back. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm totally screwing this up. But Hank and his brother go to put the money back. They don't even let the redneck buddy in on it. So Hank and Jacob, Bill Paxton and Billy Bob Thornton, they go back out to the woods. Hank strolls into the woods to put the money away, while Jacob sits by the pickup truck and looks out for people. They don't want anybody to come. A local comes by on a snowmobile, like this old, like 60-year-old or 70-year-old guy. He comes by on a snowmobile, and he stops and asks, like, Jacob, what's going on? And Jacob's like trying to play off like he has car trouble. We have car trouble, whatever. Jacob freaks out and punches this guy, knocks him out. This old dude, this old local. Bill Paxton comes back, sees the old dude laid out by the pickup truck. Billy Bob's panicked. He's like, "I didn't know what to do. We didn't want any witnesses or whatever." But what are they going to do now? Why is Billy Bob punching him? What's going on? Why are they back there at the woods the next day? They can't have this guy seeing this and, doing a report about Billy Bob / Jacob punching him. So that's when Hank crosses the line. The square, Bill Paxton crosses the line. The guy you least suspect, he's the first one to do it. And he leans over the old man and smothers him to death. So now they've gone from, which I don't know, I guess it would be like some sort of theft or something, stealing $4 million without claiming it, to murder. Maybe you could argue it's second-degree murder. I don't think you could. I think you could definitely argue it's first-degree murder. I'm no lawyer. And that's what really sets the pot in motion, because once Bill Paxton kills that old man, that sets up the backdrop for all sorts of terrible things to happen, because that is a serious crime. And if that gets out, Hank will be destroyed. And they'll all be destroyed because they're all going to go to jail, ultimately. So it turns into like a bargaining / blackmail chip as it goes along. And they all have, they had a simple plan, but they're all real people. They're well-drawn characters, and they all have their own ideas about what they should do with the money and when they should get it. Maybe you don't really have to wait 6 months. Maybe some of them need the money now.